Thank you guys.
Is there a good camera view? We're probably going to stand up though, so.
Yeah, so I tilted it so then if you stood up, your head wouldn't be like this.
Nice.
Let's do this.
Yeah, once she's ready.
Okay.
Do you add stuff to the case right now?
I rephrased one sentence.
No, that's fine. I just,
Yes.
okay.
I'll point it out.
Yeah, just point out when you're going.
Okay. Like it didn't change the argument, it just made it more clear.
Alright.
Okay. Everybody ready? I affirm. Roland defines animal rights. If there are no rationally defensible grounds for differentiating animals from humans as candidates for moral concern, we must logically bring to bear upon questions of animal treatment the entire moral machinery we use to deal with human questions. This is not forcing conclusions that animals are equal to people moral value, but rather that our treatment of animals must be judged by the same moral categories we use to judge our treatment of people, weighed by the same scales. Animal rights thinking attempts to extend our ethics to animals. For furthest definition, since Roland is a professor with a PhD who is considered the father of veterinary ethics and has lectured over 1,000 times around the globe, he teaches both philosophy and animal and biomedical sciences, so he has a unique grasp of the topic in terms of the intersection of real-world application and philosophy. And my definition doesn't assume which ethical theory is correct, it just advocates an extension of that ethical theory to animals, which allows us to have a framework debate. Thus, as long as the affluence and cogent ethical theory that grants animals some moral worth, that's sufficient to say that animals have rights. It doesn't have to be in any particular form other than the way that particular theory grants worth. Also, animals don't need to have the same rights as humans, just some level of worth, since animal rights is a term of art outlining a separate set of rights for animals. If the resolution asks whether we should extend human rights to animals, then it wouldn't use animal rights as a separate term, it would rather ask whether we should give rights to animals. Prefer reasonable apt interpretation, since the rest of the case is predicated on the interpretation, which would force the round to start over the one AR if another interpretation was used. And one interpretation is always better, so we'd never have a full round if we have to keep restarting the one AR. And CX chicks abuse or T, because even if it seems like some parts of the act violates this interpretation, this could just be a misconception of my case. I may also be willing to grant the neg interpretively weigh on these issues. And presume after because the neg has a 6-minute time advantage to the 1A or 4, so the debate seems even in the apt is the better debating. And since only neg is going to run T and apps can't give me the RBI, since the only way to make T debates reciprocal. Also, I'm forced to choose an interpretation of the topic in every round, so I always have to potentially answer back T arguments in AR, so the neg has this opportunity to get voters off the interpretational level, but I don't. Next, denying the existence of a word, term of art, or assumption implicit in the resolution doesn't deny the truth of the resolution of the statement, just renders the resolution nonsensical, since the admission is necessary for us to evaluate the resolution's truthfulness on present. If I say the Soviet Union should go to war with Canada, and you prove there isn't a Soviet Union, that doesn't mean the Soviet Union shouldn't go to war with Canada, but rather that we can have a debate about that issue. Finally, the act doesn't have to prove that all animals have rights, but rather that some animals are objects of moral consideration, because A, as long as some animals have rights, the concept of animal rights itself recognizes existing, which is all the resolution asks for, and B, there are 8.7 million species of animals in the world with a huge range of characteristics, since authors in the topic literature cite various characteristics and being qualifications for moral worth, it's impossible to affirm if I have to defend a variety of species. I value justice defined by American heritage dictionaries of conformity to moral rightness. We can only derive meaning of things in relation to their surroundings, but not in isolation. Taylor. Things only have meaning in relation to the meanings of other things. This means that there is no such thing as a single unrelated meaningful element, and it means that the changes in other meanings in the field can involve changes in the given element. Meaning cannot be identified except in relation to others, and in this way we resemble words. The meaning of a word depends on those words with which it contrasts on those which define its place in the language, and so on. The relations between meanings are like those between concepts in the semantic field. Just as our color concepts are given their meaning by the field of the contrast they set up together, so the introduction of a new concept will alter the boundaries of others, so the various meanings that a subordinate's behavior can have for us. Thus, things can't have meaning outside of their context and the things they interact with. This derives the principle of communitarianism, since value and individual identity originates from within the communal context is found in Taylor 2. The disengaged identity and its intended notion of freedom tend to generate an understanding of the individual as metaphysically independent of society, but hides from views the way in which individuals is constituted by the language and culture which can only be maintained and renewed by the community it's part of. The community is not simply an aggregation of individuals, nor is there simply a causal interaction between the two. The community is also constitutive of the individual in the sense that the self-interpretation which define him are drawn from the interchange with the community carries on. Thus, all ethics are grounded in the community, since we can't define anything outside of this context. If animals are part of a community, then they deserve rights. But for this standard, additionally, because first, ethics are designed to ensure that we treat others properly, and if we never interact with anyone else, then we could just do what we wanted, but there would be no restrictions on action. Thus, ethics only become relevant because of the interactions individuals have with one another, and thus granted a need to govern these interactions. Thus, any communal interaction invokes a need for ethics to govern us, since that is the purpose of ethics. Second, rejecting communitarian values often involves rejecting our own identity, which is impossible. Sayers. According to Taylor, having a moral framework is constitutive of ourselves as agents, hence our own identities. It is a form of self-delusion to think that we do not speak from a moral orientation which we take to be right. This is the condition of the being a functioning self. These strong evaluations cannot be freely subject to preferences described by motivism and existentialism. The individual was born in a family, community, and culture with no power of choice, and the matter itself is formed and developed within the frameworks and understandings and values which membership to these groups involves. The individual cannot reject them without in effect denying its own identity and turning itself against itself. I contend that animals are part of a community and thus have worth under a contract here in ethic. First, because we share an environment, the entire world is part of one community. Ralston. The deep ecology movement emphasizes the ways in which humans, although individual selves, can and ought to extend themselves through a web of connections interactions. The human self is not an atomistic individual set over against the other individuals in the rest of nature. Equality dissolves any firm boundary between humans and the natural world. Humans have such entwined destinies with the natural world that their richest quality of life involves a larger identification with those communities. Because we all share an environment and are all humans and animals alike affected by what happens to it. We are all a part of the same community since our fates are intertwined and connected at the ecological level. Second, animals are part of our community since they are in many ways similar to us. Ralston. Growth in ethical sensitivity is often required enlarging the circle of neighbors to include other races and cultures, but these widening circles do not act with the reciprocating moral agents. Communitarian ethic finds that enlarging concentric circles around the moral self, family, local community, nation, humankind, and surrounding through a more remote circle of animals. One must not commit the humanistic fallacy of supposing no natural analogs to what humans clearly value. We have every logical, biological, and psychological reason to value positive degrees of kinship. There will rise conflicts of interest, but prima facie, at least these individualized count. They are good, adapted fits in their places, co-evolve with others. We have shared kinship with those who are similar to us. This is often used to generate cosmopolitan obligations, wherein humans have obligations to the whole human race. However, because we share many interests with animals and have many similarities with them, the ethical community produced from kinship ties should be extended to them. Third, if some animals are incorporated into our communities as companion animals or pets, families who keep animals in their homes and develop connections with these animals have every right to consider them part of their community since they are actually closer connected to their pets than their neighbors if they live in the same house and share a family. Also, pets are often a factor that influences the ethical development of children, since many children learn right from wrong by caring for a pet, so they are part of our community that influences our moral development, which is what the framework says is important. Finally, even if animals can't be part of our human communities, they can still form communities of their own with their own moral norms. For example, wolves can shun other wolves who misbehave and bite each other, and packs of animals develop social hierarchies. Andrews. The growing understanding we have with other species about other species has led some to conclude that at least some animals have morality or the ability to engage in moral and immoral behavior. An animal who lacks many cognitive capacities of adult humans can still be a moral agent because there are different kinds of moral agents, and animal species can have their own form of morality. Burkhardt and Pierce argued that some species have a distinct form of morality that is not a precursor to human morality because they take morality from the suite of other regarding behaviors that cultivate and regulate animal behavior, complex interactions with social groups that take the complexity of animal behavior, social organization, and cognitive flexibility to demonstrate that other species have morality in this sense. Thus, animals can still create their own moral communities even if they can't be part of ours.
Is that right? Towards the top of the AC and your really long framework of spikes, one argument says that you don't have to defend all animals, just some. What's some? Is that just like more than one? Like 2 animals? Can you put like 2 chimpanzees? Is that enough to affirm?
I mean, it'd probably be like multiple species. This is
Okay,
just,
what? So,
I mean, honestly, this is just like defensive. Stop you from setting and being like, well, bugs don't have rationality, so we should exclude
I mean,
them.
the reason the question is relevant is why is pets sufficient to affirm?
Oh, sure, because of the point.
Isn't pets just like
Sure,
some
there
animals?
are 2 justifications.
You just said they defend multiple species, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are multiple species.
Yeah, okay,
Pets.
sure. Okay, so
I mean, it's just like a subset of animals. Obviously, I'm not gonna like be ridiculous and be like, well, just this one animal. But like, as long as there's like a good chunk of them, right? Because the first justification is that as long as some animals have rights, the concept of animal rights still exists. There's,
okay.
And then the second one is that.
Oh wait, what do you mean by the concept of animal rights?
Like there is still it is still true that justice requires the recognition of animal rights.
So let's talk about your first argument in the contention level, right? It says that we're all part of this environment, so we're together. Does that include like bacteria?
If bacteria have the same like.
Okay, so like, does this mean that it's like unjust to get like immunizations against like bacteria?
Right, like if this will only include bacteria if they're impacted by the ecology in the same way, right?
So what is the molecular distinction between
like
animals and
survive
bacteria?
through different things. Animals are like die in droughts and are impacted badly by pollution. And
why are those like relevant to like a moral community?
Right,
can you show me the warrants in
my
tailor
argument
evidence
is
that
that
outline
moral
those?
community extends to the entire ecology because everyone in the
Okay,
environment
so
is
can
interconnected.
you just show me the warrant in the Taylor evidence that tracks that specific relevant feature of a community, namely being a living creature, part of
Taylor evidence.
Just show me that one line, that relevant feature to be part of the community.
The entire Taylor evidence justifies this at the point where it says that what it develops our moral norms is the web of interrelations between us and other things and how we interact with them.
Your Taylor evidence indicates that to be part of the moral community means that language is constituted by language and culture. Where does the evidence indicate the relevant feature within the community is, well, that's one of them, right? So my question is, what are the relevant features of community that you outline in the case?
Interrelations, right? Connections relating with each other. The fact that they all have like a common influence of the environment. The fact that we all influence each other because we're all part of one influence.
Where is that in the framework? Where is that in the framework?
That's the contention argument. The framework just says that your influence.
So you're in a
morality is derived by your interactions with other people and your relations with them. Therefore, if we have relations with animals, we're all interconnected. That obviously links to the framework. I don't understand what the question is.
I'm trying to track the relevant features, what it means to be part of a community, because it seems like there's a disconnect there. But we can debate that out in a little bit.
Relating with each other, interconnection.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about. Show me the. Let's talk about the second card in the contention level.
Okay.
Which is, can you show me the warrant in that piece of evidence?
Ralston.
Yeah, what's the warrant?